Matt Roloff allegedly spent thousands of dollars trying to make sure the world would never see a certain image. Fixers were hired, high-powered lawyers brought in, and according to long-standing rumors, even TLC was pressured to quietly remove any trace of it from the internet. He believed that if enough money was thrown at the past, it could stay buried in the Arizona desert forever. But he forgot one crucial rule: the internet never forgets, and neither do the people who were wronged along the way. What has surfaced isn't a selfie, a staged photo from the farm, or a polished promotional image. It is a booking photo. After more than a decade of speculation, whispers, and fragmented message board discussions, the mystery surrounding the Arizona incident is back with evidence that cannot be erased. Questions have lingered for years. Why was Caryn Chandler reportedly arrested in 2011? Why does the person in this image look so different from the grandmother figure audiences see on Little People Big World? Most importantly, why does the charge listed on that booking record mirror behavior critics say has been happening at Roloff farms for years? To understand the gravity of this story, we have to go back in time. Longtime viewers have noticed a gap in Caryn Chandler's history. Around late 2010 and throughout 2011, she virtually disappears from the professional world. Her LinkedIn is vague, and her resume, when it eventually made it to the production staff, ignored this time completely. For the average viewer, this meant nothing. But for devoted fans, that void was a warning sign. Rumors circulated online about a certain event in Scottsdale, sometimes referred to as the shopping incident. The stories varied. Some said it began as a misunderstanding with an ex-employer. Others claimed it was a civil disagreement gone wrong. The most pervasive version suggested that Caryn had run into major legal trouble in Arizona before moving to Oregon to start fresh. Moderators frequently removed these posts because of a lack of evidence, but the story persisted. The idea was that Caryn sought a place far from those who knew her past, and Roloff Farms offered a fresh start. Some close to the productions say Matt Roloff played a key role in shaping her new identity and was aware of her history. During a heated off-camera moment, he allegedly boasted about cleaning up her past to a producer. If true, this paints their relationship as one built on leverage rather than love or respect. Caryn's loyalty, her betrayal of Amy, and her tolerance for Matt's controlling behavior could all stem from this. Chris Merck, who has often been disregarded by both Matt and the audience, noticed fissures in Caryn's public image. He observed her handling money and manipulating situations, realizing that uncovering the truth about Arizona was essential to protecting Amy and understanding their true adversary. He needed the evidence Matt claimed had been destroyed. Finding a sealed or expunged record is tricky. Matt likely assumed that if a legal record was removed, no one would look deeper. Court filings may be gone, but daily booking logs maintained by the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office in Arizona often remain intact. These administrative records can survive even when court documents are sealed. Chris reportedly used a clever approach. Instead of requesting Caryn by name, he asked for the full daily booking records from a week in November 2011, claiming he was collecting data on crime statistics and real estate patterns. This way, he could avoid suspicion and potentially find her record, even if it was meant to be hidden. He paid a processing fee, waited weeks for the off-site scans, and risked exposing himself in the process. A cardboard box in an Arizona warehouse may have held the key to finally revealing what Matt tried to erase. The story of Caryn Chandler's past, long obscured, was waiting to come to light, and the silence surrounding it was about to end. Chris Merck was solving the greatest mystery the family had ever faced, and Matt was completely unaware. He probably thought his secrets were safe in his farm office, built by himself, and that he had purchased complete immunity. But Chris received the materials after the request was processed and the archives were accessed. He scrolled through page after page of indiscretions, petty offenses, DUIs, and disorderly conduct. Eventually, he found it. It took time because Caryn Chandler wasn't listed under the name we know today. Her maiden name and the name from her previous marriage had to be cross-referenced. When the picture finally loaded, the birthday and physical description matched. Bingo! Reservation 492-01. It must have been terrifying to realize the truth. This was more than a name. It was tangible proof of years of falsehoods. A criminal had been brought into Amy's home by Matt Roloff. He had entrusted their grandchildren's care to someone whose dishonesty was well documented. The consequences were urgent and horrifying. This was no longer just a rumor. Security and protection of the property and family wealth became the priority. Chris understood the mugshot he held was more than a photograph. It was a powerful tool capable of breaking Matt's control. But he also knew he had to be careful. If he acted recklessly, Matt might assault him or file a lawsuit. Chris needed a clear understanding of what he was seeing and the accusation it represented. The photo itself is startling, but what matters most is the context. It proves that money cannot erase the truth. It also shows Chris as a protector rather than a mere observer. While producers slept and viewers speculated, Chris worked through records from the Arizona desert. This era of discovery was significant. Caryn, previously known only as Matt's girlfriend and a divisive figure, now became a recognized danger. When Chris and Amy uncovered the booking record, they learned Caryn had been booked, processed, and charged with a felony, different from the helpful farm manager the public sees on TLC. Every interaction with her now appeared in a new light. When Caryn whispered to Matt about property boundaries, negotiations, or finances, it could now seem menacing. People like Matt find the archive loophole that Chris exploited alarming. It shows how fragile a carefully constructed persona can be. With the right knowledge and the Freedom of Information Act, entire empires can be exposed. Chris retrieved the stray thread from the tapestry Matt had woven. The mugshot was never meant for public eyes. Its continued existence shows the power of inquiry and that one cannot hide their true identity. The incident in Arizona is no longer a myth. Booking number 492 confirms it. The image displayed on Chris' screen did not show the Caryn Chandler the public believed they knew. On the show, she appears confident, controlled, stylish, and poised. But booking photo 492 shows an unfamiliar face. Under the harsh fluorescent lights of the Maricopa County Detention Center, the image is slightly blurry, but the details are clear. Caryn looks younger and desperate. Her hair is messy, her makeup smeared, possibly from being quickly apprehended. Her eyes tell the story. There is no warmth or grandmotherly compassion, only anger and rejection. The expression captures the moment her facade crumbled under public exposure. The digital file is dated November 14, 2011, a crucial date. The smoking gun disrupts the timeline Matt Roloff tried to sell. Caryn's quick rise at Roloff Farm started in November 2011, placing the arrest right in the middle. The photo was taken at downtown Phoenix's 4th Avenue Jail, a facility handling some of the county's toughest cases. Seeing Caryn, now a board member controlling the Roloff children's inheritance, linked to a maximum security intake roster, is jarring. Two worlds that were never meant to collide have intersected. The emotional stakes changed the moment this photo was revealed. Amy's reaction was not vindictive. She didn't laugh or say, "I told you so." She lost color and reportedly felt shivers. She had been dismissed as jealous or insecure for years, led to believe by Matt that Caryn was a capable, volunteering manager. The moment she saw the mugshot, she realized she had allowed a criminal into her home, smiling at her family and handling finances. The affair with Matt was no longer the only concern. Matt had put the family at risk by bringing someone with a violent and public criminal record into their lives. The photo was only the beginning. The real story lies in the details. Chris examined the writing below Caryn's chin, where the charge code appeared. The main accusation was a breach of 13 to 1802 Argentine pesos. To the untrained eye, it's just a string of numbers, but it refers to theft by deception in the Arizona revised statutes. This is not a petty theft or an impulsive mistake. This was a calculated crime involving deceit, manipulation, and falsifying facts to acquire property or services. It is considered a white-collar crime, a deliberate act to gain something of value through lying. The implications of the charge were enormous. Theft by deception is not a simple misunderstanding. It requires intent. It means knowing you were misrepresenting facts to gain something of value. In Caryn's case, The accusation aligned with a pattern of manipulation and calculated dishonesty. For Amy, the revelation was chilling. Everything she had believed about the safety of her home and family had been compromised. Chris knew the photograph was only the first piece of evidence. The real danger was what this charge revealed about Caryn's character. He had to consider the consequences of this information. Sharing it recklessly could lead to conflict with Matt, or even legal threats. But withholding it meant continuing to live in a house where trust had been shattered. Chris's role as protector required careful navigation. Every move had to be strategic, precise, and calculated. The next step was contextualizing the booking. Chris spent hours reviewing public records, cross-referencing dates, and understanding the Arizona legal system. Booking numbers, intake logs, and arrest times were administrative in nature, but vital in painting a full picture. He confirmed the arrest occurred at 4th Avenue Jail in Phoenix, a facility used for high-risk or complex cases. This wasn't a minor offense handled quietly in a small town. It was serious enough to enter a system that manages some of the county's most challenging cases. Chris also examined the timeline of Caryn's employment. She started at Roloff Farms almost immediately after the arrest. By November 2011, she was actively managing pumpkin season operations, moving seamlessly into a role that put her in close contact with Matt, Amy, and their grandchildren. The overlap was unsettling. The arrest didn't just precede her work at the farm, it directly conflicted with the image she presented to the public. On television, she was competent, nurturing, and trustworthy. In reality, she had a criminal record and a history of calculated deception. The realization changed the dynamics of the entire family narrative. Every conversation, every decision, and every transaction involving Caryn could now be reevaluated. When she advised Matt on property boundaries or financial matters, the advice could no longer be assumed benevolent. It carried a potential for manipulation and personal gain. Chris's understanding of Caryn's influence became deeper and more urgent. Her presence was no longer just a social complication, it was a real threat to the safety, wealth, and trust within the Roloff household. The digital mugshot became the anchor for a new investigation. Every detail was scrutinized. The fluorescent lighting highlighted imperfections, the smudged makeup suggested haste or panic, and her eyes conveyed a mix of fear, defiance, and calculation. Unlike the polished version of Caryn presented on television, this image revealed someone accustomed to masking their true intentions. Amy's reaction was a mixture of disbelief, fear, and a profound sense of betrayal. For years, she had been gaslighted into believing that Caryn was simply a helpful assistant. Now, the reality was undeniable. A person with a documented felony record had been allowed into her family's inner circle. Chris also reviewed supporting records to ensure the accuracy of his findings. Booking logs, intake sheets, and administrative notes all confirmed the arrest date and the charges. Each document aligned with a photograph, forming a cohesive narrative. This was not speculation. It was documented history, verifiable and immutable. The more he confirmed, the clearer the picture became. Caryn's carefully curated public persona was constructed to hide a serious and deliberate criminal past. The stakes were even higher considering the nature of the crime. Theft by deception is not just about taking property, it is about exploiting trust. Someone who commits this type of crime knows how to manipulate perceptions and bend facts to their advantage. In a family business setting like Roloff Farms, where personal relationships and finances are intertwined, such skills can be extremely dangerous. Every financial decision or negotiation involving Caryn had to be reconsidered in light of her criminal history. Chris realized that her influence could extend far beyond petty theft. It could compromise assets, inheritance, and even family safety. Amy, confronted with the truth, had to reassess everything she believed about Matt, Caryn, and the family's internal dynamics. The revelation also raised questions about the show itself. How much of what viewers saw was genuine, and how much was curated to protect certain images? The dichotomy between the television persona and the booking photo illustrated the disparity. The public saw a polished, competent woman. The arrest record revealed someone with a history of deceit. This discovery also exposed vulnerabilities in the way Matt had managed Roloff farms. His attempt to erase the past had created a false sense of security. Expungement orders may have removed court filings, but they could not erase administrative records like booking logs. Chris's access to these archives demonstrated that even carefully orchestrated attempts to conceal the truth could be bypassed with knowledge, patience, and strategy. The law allowed transparency, and Chris exploited it to protect those most at risk. The psychological impact on the family was profound. Amy had been manipulated into believing she was imagining concerns about Caryn. Friends, neighbors, and fans had dismissed her suspicions. Now, the mugshot validated every concern she had voiced, showing that her instincts had been correct all along. The revelation was not just a personal vindication, it was proof that careful observation and persistence could uncover hidden truths. As Chris continued his work, he became increasingly aware of the broader implications. The case highlighted how easily appearances can deceive, especially when resources, influence, and legal knowledge are used to construct a narrative. In a high-profile family business, the stakes are not just emotional, they are financial, legal, and reputational. Protecting the family required more than awareness. It required proactive investigation and meticulous documentation. The case also underscored the power of public records and transparency laws. Booking logs, FOIA requests, and archival materials became crucial tools in uncovering truths that money and influence could not erase. Chris's use of these resources illustrates how ordinary administrative procedures, when understood and applied strategically, can challenge even the most carefully hidden secrets. By the end of the discovery process, several facts were undeniable. Caryn Chandler had a documented criminal record dating back to November 2011. She had been booked, charged, and processed for theft by deception. She had entered Roloff Farms shortly thereafter, assuming a position of trust within the family and on the television show. Every interaction with Matt and Amy now had to be reconsidered in light of this knowledge. The public image of Caryn as a helpful, nurturing farm manager was inconsistent with the documented evidence. The revelations raised important questions about responsibility, judgment, and accountability. Matt's decision to bring Caryn into the family environment, despite knowledge of her past, placed the family at risk. Amy's warnings had been dismissed for years, highlighting the consequences of gaslighting and the misplacement of trust. Chris's investigation not only exposed the truth, but also served as a warning about the importance of verification and vigilance when it comes to family and business matters. Ultimately, the mugshot and booking records served as a catalyst for reevaluating the dynamics within Roloff Farms. It demonstrated that influence, power, and trust must be scrutinized, even when appearances suggest stability and competence. The discovery also emphasized the enduring importance of truth, transparency, and perseverance. Secrets, no matter how carefully hidden, have a way of surfacing, especially when someone is willing to dig, cross-reference, and confront inconvenient facts. For Amy and the family, the impact of this discovery will likely continue to resonate. It altered how they perceived their environment, their relationships, and the individuals they had trusted implicitly. It also exposed a vulnerability in the public narrative, the version of events presented to television audiences, which was carefully curated to hide inconvenient truths. Chris's work serves as a reminder of the power of evidence, persistence, and strategic thinking. By accessing and analyzing records that others overlooked or assumed were inaccessible, he was able to uncover a reality that challenged assumptions, exposed deceit, and redefined the narrative for everyone involved. The Arizona booking record and the mugshot of Caryn Chandler are more than historical artifacts. They are proof that falsehoods can be uncovered, that accountability is enforceable, and that trust must always be verified. In this case, the consequences of that verification were profound. The family gained clarity, the public gained a new perspective, and the carefully managed illusions surrounding Roloff Farms were irrevocably disrupted.